It's time for Physician Family Finances, the show where physician moms and dads like you can get the answers and encouragement you need to turn a good earned income into great life outcomes for tomorrow and today.
Hello, physician moms and dads. I'm Nate Reineke, certified financial planner and primary advisor.
And I'm Chelsea Jones, also a certified financial planner and primary advisor here at Physician Family. Nate,
So
I'm back.
I know you're back. It's great. And
I'm
we had this
excited.
nice little plan. We are going to talk about retirement withdrawal planning and do all this fun stuff, but too much going on Capitol Hill to talk about retirement withdrawals.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk about the big, the beautiful bill, right?
Yeah. And just like
Yeah,
with any plan, life happens and we have to adjust.
that's right.
So it's
That's
appropriate.
very right. Okay, so the big beautiful bill, one big beautiful bill, it is kicking up some dust, and we were talking about this beforehand. We're going to try to stay away from what might happen with this bill for our country or anything political, because I've heard people that what as I call it, they think this is a matter of the government essentially counting their imaginary tariff eggs before they hatch, right? Because we don't know what's
Mhm.
going to go on with tariffs. And then there's other people that are singing its praises, this big, beautiful bill. But either way, it presents some challenges and also some opportunities for our listeners, for physicians. So I want our listeners to hear this carefully. This is a big bill, 870 pages. And Chelsea, did you read all 870 pages?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
neither did I. And so we're going to try to tackle some of the questions that we got directly, like already. We already have clients, some listeners asking questions. We're just going to go through it the best we can, try to clear up some confusions that we're hearing and kind of what it would mean for high earning physicians. We'll cover some things that changed, some things that didn't change, and hopefully give our listeners some steps they can take along the way. So more to come, though, and I'll touch on that a little bit as we go. So Chelsea, what changed?
Well, one big thing that changed that will affect a lot of our clients is the change in the SALT deduction, right?
That's right. So salt deduction. I say this all the time as if everybody knows what it is. Let me stop and kind of explain it for a second. So the SALT deduction allows physicians who itemize their taxes, right? So they can itemize, they're writing things off and they're going above the standard deduction with their write-offs. It allows them to write off state and local income taxes, property taxes, sales taxes from their federal taxable income, right? And in the past, before this bill, you could write off up to $10,000. So for high income tax states, I'm living in one right now in Oregon, that
Mhm.
wasn't nearly enough, or I guess you could not come close to writing off all the taxes you paid. Um, and so this limit has been raised from 10,000 to 40,000.
It's a big
So
deal,
it's a
quadrupling.
yes, big jump. And we were running some numbers. So here's a situation for you. If you're a physician who makes $450,000 and married filing jointly in a high tax state, let's say like New York, this could literally be almost $10,000 back in your pocket. So end of the
Mhm.
day, it's a big deduction. And it's important to know that this has a time limit on it. So it's 5 years of doing this. Um, if you have used this in the past, this is a big deal for you. Like this is going to be real money in your pocket. It's not some minor credit where you get an extra $500. It's tens of thousands.
Mhm. And there's a phase out that applies, right?
I believe there is a phase out. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to answer these questions for everybody as a whole. There's lots of phase outs. There's lots of complexities. So
Mhm.
check with your tax professional on all of this. Be careful. But at the end of the day, most of the families we serve this will be an improvement on their taxes.
Mhm. Yeah, and it seems like for people who previously were just using the standard deduction would be able
Hmm.
to itemize now, basically.
Yeah, if you own a home, and maybe you were coming close to the standard deduction with all the things that you deducted. Now, let me stop for a second. Standard deduction. We hear that a lot, right? Everyone says
Hmm.
it. Well, exactly what that means, there is a limit that you can deduct automatically from your taxes. You know, from the very top of line of your taxes, you just take it off. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. And if you can deduct more than that, then you don't use the standard deduction. You itemize, right? So you itemize, you look at all the things you can deduct. It's more than the standard, so you would elect to itemize your deduction. For the people who have been using standard deduction in the past, maybe because of the SALT tax rule, they didn't have quite enough to itemize, enough deductions to itemize. There's a good chance that now that they can, right? So yeah, it's a positive for, especially for physicians living in uh, high tax states.
Hmm.
Okay, so you were telling me about the senior tax deduction. Tell me what's
Yeah,
changed with that. What is it?
yeah. So it's an additional
Mm-hmm.
tax deduction of $6,000 per person that's age 65. So if you're married, you both have to be 65 to get $12,000 worth of a deduction. If only one of you is 65, you get 6,000. Um, but that's in addition to the deduction that you already get as a person 65 or older, which is currently 2,000 for single people or 3,200 for married
Mm-hmm.
filers. Um, so this is another thing that is temporary. This isn't a permanent deduction for seniors. This will be in effect 2025 through 2028. Again, for people that are 65 or older. And I think people what people have heard about that maybe this is the change that they're hearing about is I've heard people say that this bill reduces taxes on Social Security,
Mm-hmm.
which is not necessarily true. So, like, the bill does not say Social Security benefits will not be taxed.
Mm-hmm.
Social Security benefits may be taxed less because you're deducting this extra $6,000
Mm-hmm.
and it's pushing you below the threshold that makes your benefit taxable. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So
Yeah.
sometimes deductions, like this is what everyone needs to know. There might be a deduction that goes through that you might be able to take. Um, and the way that politicians or the media are going to advertise it is really one way or another, right? Like it's saying lowering Social Security tax or tax on Social Security with something like this. It's like if you can go above the standard deduction, and if you were paying a lot in taxes already, it's just a very strange way that we have to digest this information. But yeah, it's not direct, and it's mostly just another tax deduction for you if you can use it.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, what else, Chelsea? These are just the top things that we're kind of hearing about. You got a question about the
Yeah.
Trump savings accounts, right?
I did. Yeah, because I had a client ask me, like, should this be part of my college savings? Um, and the short answer is probably not, but
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you what they are. So this is a savings account, which is an investment account. This isn't like a high yield savings for your child. This is an investment account, specifically for children who were born between 2025 and 2028. That's a
Mm-hmm.
common theme here,
Okay.
temporary 2025, 2028.
Uh-huh.
So if you were born between that time and you are a US citizen, you'll automatically be enrolled in this Trump savings account and you'll receive $1,000 from the federal government as like an initial deposit. It's a one-time initial deposit of $1,000.
Okay.
And family members, parents, grandparents, or even an employer, if that's a benefit that an employer wants to offer, can contribute to these accounts for your child. Um, there is a limit, so you can only contribute up to 5,000 per year per child. So it's not for the families that we work with. Um, that's not a substantial contribution. That's
Right.
not going to get them to send their kid to college.
Right.
The money is invested. It's intended to be invested for the long term. So I read that it's supposed to be invested in low cost index funds.
Okay.
Um,
We like
earnings
those.
grow. We do like those. We're
Mm,
big fans. Earnings grow tax deferred. So it's kind of like a taxable account, but this is where it differs from the taxable account in a big way is taxable accounts, any like dividends that you earn from your stocks or interest that's paid from your bonds is taxed in the year that you get it.
hmm
That's not the case for this account. It's tax deferred. The tax bill comes when you take the money out.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting. Okay. There's some withdrawal rules that you'd want to make sure you look into that. Again, this is your child needs to be brand new. So it's going to be 18 to 30 years away from now. Right. But,
yeah.
you have to clean out the account at some point. The way I'm kind of taking this is for physicians specifically, there's not much here. And mainly that's because the vast majority of physicians already struggle to save enough for college. And
Hmm.
college is expensive, and we're going to get to that actually in a second. Um, but $3,000, I guess no one can be complain about that. But this account is worse than a 529, right? Because 529s, it's tax deferred and tax free growth. Like it's not even tax
Hmm.
deferred. There is no taxes when you pull the money out for college. And
Right.
so to use this account for college would not be a great idea because it's no better than a 529 and it has it's worse than a 529 and it has strings attached.
Hmm.
So, you have to use it on certain things. The one thing I saw was that you can use it for the down payment on your
Hmm. For
child's
a
future
first
house,
time, yeah, first
right?
time home purchase.
Now,
Hmm.
if you're investing appropriately inside of a taxable account, this is a taxable account that you own as the mom and dad. You can give them money for a down payment on a house. There's just some gift tax implications, right?
Yeah.
So, if you really the only thing this does for you is it allows you to give money for a house without the gift tax implications. That's
Mhm.
about
And
it.
there is kind of a string attached to the gift to the down payment as well, because
Okay.
if you look at the average age of home buyers nowadays, that age is ticking up. I want to
hmm
say it's like in the early to mid 30s, but one of the strings and one of the stipulations that is tied into this account is all of the money has to be out by 31, age
hmm
31. And so if your child doesn't buy a house until 35, then the money would have to come out before that milestone hits.
Yeah,
So,
and it's not like you can say, "Well, I'll just give it to them then," because they have to use it on certain things. They can't just use it on a car or something.
mhm,
So, yeah, more to come, I guess, on this. It doesn't. It seems like for our physician listeners, at least, kind of not all that exciting. Um,
right.
for the average Joe, I could imagine getting $1,000 sounds good. So, but
Yeah.
not a lot here. I'm sure we'll answer more questions about that in the future, but keep saving into your 529 because that
Mhm.
is much, much better on your taxes and you will need it for college, which brings us to 529 changes. Um, and this is, again, kind of a bit of a nothing burger. It's kind of there's some minor changes about how you can spend the money for private K through 12. I have a few clients in my head where they have way too much money in their 529s and I'm thinking of them. I'm getting excited for them because now they can take out more than $10,000 for private K through 12 school.
Mhm.
Um, and they can actually take out $20,000. And there's some other things you can use the money on, like testing and things like that. But the reality is, I'm 95% of people that we work with, the physician families that are saving for college, they are saving just enough. So
Mhm.
it would be worse to take out money for private K through 12 school because the whole point of putting money in these 529s is the tax-free growth. And if you cut yourself off at the knees and start pulling money out of these accounts when they're in, private middle school, you're missing
Mhm.
out on the tax-free growth and you probably won't have enough money to pay for college.
Yeah,
So
or even
go
age
ahead.
5 for kindergarten.
That's right. Gosh.
Yeah.
The amount of money that we see go to private school, I see why people want to kind of take money from 529s. It's just not doing what it was meant to do.
Hmm.
If you are one of those people that is well prepared for college, in fact, you probably oversaved, which generally comes from you saving enough and then grandparents surprising you with a bunch of money in a 529, and you're trying to get this money out. We've talked about this many times in the past. This can go to your grandkids, so you can leave it in. But if for some reason you want to get to this money, you know you have too much in your 529s, this could give you some help, where you're using an extra $10,000 a year per child on private school. Now, here's the big thing. This isn't 529, it's 529 adjacent. All right. This bill did limit essentially how much money your children as a physician can get as for student loans. Okay. Now, if you're Chelsea's client or you're my client, your kids are getting their college paid for because we're begging you to save for in your 529s, begging you to save enough money for college. Because what we see, and I have actually seen this firsthand, I've helped a client fill out their FAFSA, and then when they came back to me, they said, this is just one instance. They said the school told us they'd only give us $5,000 a year in loans, but the school cost $20,000 a year. Not a super expensive school, but their parents just made too much money. So they no longer can get qualified for these unsubsidized or subsidized student loans because their parents make too much. And
Hmm.
Chelsea, when you and I were in school, it's like you can kind of get the money you needed to go to school. And so they're like, what do we do? The answer is your child has to go to the bank and get
Yeah.
a private student loan. So when your backup plan is, well, my child can save for college, I'm going to be really aggressive here. You're kind of digging their grave for them. I mean,
If they have to borrow for college. Yeah.
yes, they have to borrow at high rates with the bankers, right? And it used to be, well, maybe they could do public service loan forgiveness. Maybe we'll figure something out. It's just getting harder and harder for people to borrow. Now, for me, this is a complete theory, but in the long run, I imagine this will make it so colleges will have to be more competitive with their pricing. Like kids can't
That'd be
take out student
nice.
loans
Yeah.
anymore, so we're probably gonna have to lower prices. But I don't know. And a lot of times people think or will ask us, um, should I really be saving this much for college? Don't you think they'll have to fix this at some point? I've thought they would need to fix a lot of things at this point, and they haven't. The cost of college is still
Right.
going up by 7% per year over year. So you need to be prepared for college, and you need to be prepared to send your children to college. Otherwise, they are in trouble with their student loans.
Yeah.
So get your 529s out and fill them up. Okay, I'm up again, I think, because we got
Yeah.
PSLF to talk about. All right.
Yep.
So for all my public service loan forgiveness physicians out there, you've been through a lot lately, and you're not out of the woods yet. Basically, the history of this is that through COVID all the way to now, there have been a lot of ups and downs with public service loan forgiveness, and mainly it's just the unknown, like what's going to happen. And so there were these income driven repayment plans that everyone could qualify for as physicians, that if you worked for a nonprofit or you worked for the state, and you pick which one has the lowest payment plan, right? That's either back then it was pay, repay, or IBR, income based repayment plan. Now, there were other options. None of them ever worked out for physicians. They were just too expensive. And with public service loan forgiveness, the goal is you just want to get your payments as low as possible. You make 120 payments and then they forgive the rest, right? And so when everything going on with COVID and some of the Secure Act, they implemented a new plan called SAVE, the SAVE plan. It's supposed to save everyone money. And so everybody who was on repay, another payment plan, repay, automatically got switched over to SAVE. And then the S storm for all. I think we do have some listeners who have their kids listen with them, so I'll say the S storm. The S storm started where SAVE was essentially it no longer qualified for public service loan forgiveness credits. So every payment that you
Oof.
made, or even when you're in forced forbearance, there was a time where you're in forced forbearance and it was qualifying. Well, now it doesn't.
Right.
And so they're in limbo because guess what? With all these sweeping changes, the Department of Education essentially isn't processing paperwork for you.
Oh my
They're just not
goodness.
processing anything. They don't process paperwork. Even if you wanted to get on a different plan, they just wouldn't process the paperwork. And so for a long time now, I have been asking these physician families just sit tight. We don't know what's happening. You're not in control. Take it a day at a time. Call me in 3 months. We'll see if anything's changed. Well, this is a pretty big change. I don't know if they're processing paperwork because that's not written on their website that they're not. It's just I've noticed from experience that they are not. But what we do know from this bill is it looks like Save, Pay, and another plan that nobody was in because it was too expensive, the ICR plan, are going to be eliminated. And this is bleak news because Pay and Repay, which is now Save, those were kind of the saving grace for a lot of physicians. It does not mean that PSLF is going away. It's not going away. You are grandfathered into some things. It just means that you're not going to save as much. Usually, this is, on the whole, physicians will not save as much using PSLF.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is they're implementing a new payment plan. It's the WRAP plan. And they are allowing you to be grandfathered into the IBR plan. Some physicians did use IBR. Most didn't. They used Pay or Repay. But essentially, at some point, you're going to need to switch over to IBR. And if you stay on Pay or Save, you'll be automatically rolled into the WRAP plan. Okay, so there's nothing you can do at this very moment. They're backlogged with paperwork, and the WRAP plan it's in its infancy. But between July 2026 and July 2028, if you want to be on your IBR plan, then you need to switch over. And the IBR plan is generally going to be less expensive than the WRAP plan. This is for physicians. Imagine, Chelsea, you've been a physician for several years, you're an attending, and you now make a great income. And so your income-driven repayment is still pretty high. That's not where all the savings came from, though, right? The savings came from when you were a resident and your payments were really low. So while your payments might be high, you got to make those high payments for 2 to 5 years, and then your loans are forgiven. And if the amount that you would pay over that 2 to 5 years is less than what it would look like to just pay your loans off by refinancing or just paying them off, then PSLF's a decent deal for you. But the IBR plan, while they both calculate pretty high payments, the IBR plan is capped at whatever the payment would have been if you originally started with the standard repayment plan, the 10-year standard repayment plan.
Okay. So can we pause there and I'll see if I understand what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So people pursuing PSLF, they are gonna, unless they're already in an IBR payment plan, they're gonna have to change to either WRAP or IBR.
No matter what, even if they're already in one, they're going to have to change.
Yeah. But between WRAP or IBR, it sounds like IBR is probably going to be better in most cases.
In most cases,
that
because
fair?
I'm thinking about these not new borrowers in PSLF. I'm thinking about these people that I speak to every day that have been in PSLF for 6 or 7 years, maybe 5 years. Their income's already high, so that they've hit the dream. Now they have this big income, and the big payments, right? But most of the time, I believe the way that these payments are calculated is that IBR is going to probably be better. So yes, probably need to switch over to IBR.
Okay.
And then your payments will start getting counted towards public service loan forgiveness, and you can ride this out until it's over and move on with your life.
Yeah. Hopefully the Department of Education will start processing paperwork before July 2028.
No kidding. No kidding. That's about it. That's what I have for now for PSLF. Always more to come with PSLF.
Yeah, always. So talked about some things that have changed.
Hmm.
There were a lot of questions that I've gotten where there were these changes that were anticipated, but it actually didn't change.
Hmm.
Um, so the main one being the backdoor Roth. Like we've been
Oh,
hearing for a while that, oh, isn't the backdoor Roth going to go away? Aren't they
yeah.
proposing that
We
that
hear
should
that
go
every few
away?
years.
Yeah, the backdoor Roth is sticking around. It is
Hmm.
still a thing. Um, it actually, I don't even think it was proposed in this bill to be removed.
Yeah.
But if it was at some point proposed, they took it out. It's sticking around.
Yeah. I imagine someday, I mean, maybe they'll close that loophole, but they haven't yet. They talk about it sometimes. The key is to do what's in your control. This is just a key
Hmm.
to life, right? Like, do what's in your control. And right now, you can do a backdoor Roth, so do it. And if you can't, it is not the end of the world. You have to save in a different way.
Hmm.
And maybe you're just saving more money in a taxable account. But do your backdoor Roth for now because it's staying for now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple more too. Things that stayed the same: the child tax credit for the Trump's old tax bill in 2017. It's staying. So, in fact, it increased a little bit. It used to be $2,000 per child per year, and now it's 2,200. There is, the standard deduction went up a bit, but it's pretty close to the same. It's indexed for inflation moving forward. Mortgage deduction rules. This one kind of drives me crazy with the prices of houses. It's like
Yeah.
the mortgage deduction rule is that you can only deduct mortgage up to a $750,000 mortgage, which I think the intention of that was to um, take this benefit away from these ultra rich people who buy houses that are millions of dollars. Now I'm talking to doctors who are struggling to save for college, and their mortgage is more than $750,000. So
Yeah.
a little bit strange that number didn't move, but it's still 750. You can only deduct up to the mortgage interest on 750,000. And then final version, one thing I just want to make really clear, because for years now people have been wondering, is PSLF going to go away? It's not going away. And something to note is that this is generally how things work on Capitol Hill. They're not going to just rip something away from you. I mean, they might, but most things they don't rip away from you. They make it less and less desirable to use them, and they usually grandfather you into something.
Hmm.
And that's what's happening here. So, there's a lot there, and yet we covered about 1%.
Yeah.
So, anything else? I think that's about it.
I think that's about it for what we can talk about today. We did just scratch the surface, but we might have to phone a friend, a CPA friend, to help us talk more about some of the tax implications.
Right. I know. I actually I took a high flyer, asked a CPA we know, hey, will you come talk about QBI deductions? They couldn't make it, but QBI deductions. And by the way, I want to just say this. We didn't touch on anything about the major healthcare changes that will
Yeah.
take effect. It's not really exactly our specialty to talk about that. Who's going to be great to talk about it though, and probably I feels like he will know, is Ben. So when Ben
Hmm.
gets on the podcast next, maybe you'll have something to say. But questions will come in from all our listeners and all of our clients, and maybe we can tackle them one by one.
Yeah.
So that's it for today. If you need great tax advice or financial planning that considers taxes that you'll pay over your lifetime, not just the next 5 years, you should get in touch with us, see if we're a match. You can go to our website at physicianfamily.com, schedule an interview, and we'll see if we can help you, or if someone we know can help you, because we know great tax people as well. Until next time, remember, you're not just making a living, you're making a life.
Are you ready to turn worries about taxes and investing into all the money you need for college and retirement? It's time to make a plan and get on track. To find out if we're a match, visit physicianfamily.com and click Get Started. Or you can ask a question of your own by emailing podcast@physicianfamily.com. See marketing disclosures at physicianfamily.com/disclosures.